I was recently flown out by EA as part of their creator network to preview Jedi Survivor in Los Angeles, so thanks to EA for that. While the combat upgrades are definitely a big plus, I feel like the biggest upgrade in Jedi Survivor over Fallen Order are related to the game world, so that's what we're going to be talking about here today, focusing on some spoiler-free world building and exploration elements. If you want to hear about things like the combat upgrades, I put together some thoughts on combat and gameplay for my video on my gaming channel, Corey Loses, which I'll link on the screen and in the description if you want to check that out after this video. We weren't able to record our own footage, so the footage on screen has been provided by EA as well, and is from a work-in-progress build of the game. In Fallen Order, you tended to have one path to follow at any given time. The main story was linear, and it was really just the main story that you had to do. And while you could go between the different planets, they were mostly just collectibles defined. Those elements are still there, but they feel a lot more naturally tied to the environment, and you tend to be more directly involved in elements of the story which go beyond the main quest line. On top of these more collectible-based world-building elements, there's actually real side quests. Some of these are essentially puzzle vaults, while others involve more traditional objectives, helping to accomplish some specific task, saving a specific person, etc. And in many cases, they actually involve some pretty fun additional fights. As a result of these and other changes, the world just feels more alive, and you're a lot more rewarded for exploring parts of the map which you might have left alone otherwise. Fallen Order had some fun background world building via stormtrooper dialogue you could eavesdrop on, but other than that, NPCs and dialogue were pretty few and far between, largely just functioning as a few props on Saw's base on Kashyyyk. But in Jedi Survivor, you interact with many more characters. It's not truly an open world game, but there's a lot less of just going straight from point A to point B, and a lot more you can get out of going to different corners of the map rather than just following the set courses like you did in Fallen Order. Though if you do want to just focus on that main story, that's also entirely possible. Since we only had about 3 hours, I wasn't able to do a ton of this side exploring, but there were a few areas I had to pretty quickly pass, which I'm pretty excited to get back to once the game actually releases, despite generally not being a player concerned with being a completionist. We were only able to play on the new planet Kobo, so some of these may be more for Kobo than for other worlds, though I assume things like the side quests and the puzzle vaults will exist in basically every location. Some of the side quests or puzzles you'll come across aren't going to be solvable the first time you find them, and the game will tell you if you don't have the requisite skills, so you'll want to revisit some locations later on down the line, which is made much easier by the introduction of fast travel and mounts, which I talked about a bit more in the other video on Loses. Kobo does seem to be intended as a bit of a hub world or home base for the player, so on the less important but still fun side on that planet, there's a gardening minigame you can play which has a bit more input from the player than the terrariums in Fallen Order, and you can also find some people around the map to send back to the main settlement on Kobo, though hopefully if you don't play for a while they don't neg you like in Animal Crossing. That was actually another area where the game has you covered as well. In the menu, there is a section which shows your most recent dialogue and events, so if you take a break for a couple weeks, you can refresh yourself on where you've been and what you've done most recently. The menus in the game as a whole have had some major expansions and upgrades, so there's a lot of helpful information to assist in your exploration of Kobo and other planets. On top of the expansion to combat skills and customization via perks, the cosmetic customization has gotten a lot broader too. You seem to be able to customize your lightsaber color right away, so while I was playing I was able to use the superior yellow lightsaber pretty much the whole time. There's a ton of new outfits and color schemes for those outfits as well as BD-1, and you can even customize Cal's appearance directly with different beards, hairstyle, clothes, and more importantly, weird mustaches. With some of the collectibles in the game being types of currency that you can use in shops on Kobo and possibly elsewhere, but again, we don't know what the other planets are like, so I can't say for sure with any of that. All of these changes and the other gameplay improvements took what worked about Fallen Order and really built on that, while fixing a good chunk of the downsides from the first game. My end takeaway was that I came out more excited to play all the way through Survivor than I had been going into the preview event. The world building and exploration, as well as the combat, all really feel like a step up over Fallen Order. I'll have more coverage on the game from both this channel and Corey Loses in the next couple of weeks, but once again, thanks to EA and the Creator Network for providing the trip out to play the game, and thank you for watching.